Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Welcome to the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, with your host, Andra, with a topic about sex. It's from the point of view of an older woman. Today's topics are tips on how to give the best hand job. Of course, the best hand job he's ever had, at least. Now, hand jobs were like forbidden before, like way back in the day. There was also forbidden that you touched yourself anyway, so everything was forbidden. Nowadays, it's become a natural thing for a man to masturbate and jerk himself off, plain and simple terms. Now, it's not being done as much in the bedroom, and bringing it into the bedroom makes him realize that it could be intertwined into that sexual act, which for the most part, everybody out there has probably done it. But bringing that and making it the center of the foreplay, the center of the sexual act, this gives your partner that opportunity to watch you, his partner, take the reins on something that he does himself. Because he's always like by himself when he's masturbating. So this is a way of having him watch you do this, do something he does, and he doesn't have to do it himself. And then it's something that is really spicing up the sexual act, and it makes it harder for him. So we crave newness in everything that we do. Our minds are made that way. We like to try something new. We like seeing things new. It keeps us going, pretty much. So why not do that in the bedroom? Always nice to have something new. Now, our first tip, as usual, is start with that old famous conversation about the hand job. Ask him how he touches himself and how he would like to be touched. Gets him involved in the hand job. It's also giving you an opportunity to find out what turns him on, because at the same time, it's probably going to turn you on. The next one, now, ladies, they all come in different shapes and sizes. Take note of what you're working with. You don't want to hurt them. One man is not the same size as another. And you could dangerously hurt that, hurt your partner. I mean, some men are still uncircumcised, some are circumcised, so there's different ways of giving that pleasure, and you have to take that into account as well. Another thing is, our hands are not naturally lubed, so please get some lube, because lubrication will not only intensify the hand job, it helps with it in keeping a good motion, and it minimizes the friction from that skin to skin contact, because you are going up and down, or across, and that is skin to skin, and it causes friction. Now, obviously, if you have calluses, that's going to hurt. So I don't expect a woman to have major calluses, but we are considered equal now, and we are out there performing the same jobs as the man. So, and calluses, we're not immune from them. So, or our hands, not all of us women go out there and get that manicure or that massage in our hands every day of the week or every week. It's always, it may just be that once in a while. So, but for the most part, we love to keep our hands safe, which is our tools, our sexual tools, not tubes, tools. So it's good to have nice soft hands, but most of all, have lubrication. Very, very important. Now, when you're in there giving that hand job, you're thinking, am I going to hurt them? What's too hard? What's too soft? This is why you ask. We as women sometimes we're delicate, more delicate than man. Let's face it, let's put it out there. We're just more delicate. So men kind of sort of like a little bit of pressure there, because if you want to look at it, when they're penetrating a vagina, we have muscles in there, and it's rubbing up against back and forth, which is his sensation, to get him off, to get him on, to that orgasm, and he's going back and forth with it. Difference is we actually get wet and we give self-lubrication. So if you're going in with a hand job, our hands don't self-lubricate. So after giving it lubrication, apply a little pressure, because you're kind of sort of mimicking how the walls of the vagina are going over his penis. So don't be afraid to give a little pressure, because they like it. Don't squeeze too hard, because they'll tell you, stop. Number 5, mix up your hand technique. Yeah, you might want to start out slow and steady with the up and down, but move it around a little. Play with his balls, his scrotum if you want technical terms. Play with his testes, and then go back to going back and forth. Play with the head of the penis. Move it around. He'll tell you if he wants you to stay in one motion, because he's really turned on and he wants to come right then and there in your hand, as opposed to waiting to get into the sexual act. Bring him right to orgasm. And then you can start all over again. That's what the fun part about it is. So it's really good to change it up a bit. Change up hands. Maybe you started out with the right hand, bring in the left hand. One's playing with with the scrotum, testes, whatever you want to call them, the balls, and, rubbing up and down underneath there, while the other one is still stroking his penis up and down. Move it around. You got 2 of them, use them. That's what they're there for. The next few tips are I'm wrapping these all up into one, because when we're in there doing and giving that hand job, not only are we asking him what he likes, but our arms will get tired. So your partner's hands, arms do get tired. So we're going to automatically, or your partner's automatically going to switch up hands and experiment with different areas. There's a space in between their legs underneath their scrotum. Experiment with it. Play with it. It's still a sensitive area. It's still near his penis. It's right by his scrotum. And that's something that could be a total turn on. Some guys might not be able to handle you touching there, but it is there. Last tip. Very important. Very, very important. Please pay attention to the cues he's giving you. This way, you don't hurt him. He's still being pleasured, but you may be doing something so totally good that he's probably going to put his hand there and tell you to do it more, or, oh, move it here, but he will give you those cues. So do look at them and do pay attention, because you are pleasuring him. So we're going to take a break here with our tips. And when we come back, we are going to discuss some intense hand job tips that could give even more of an explosive orgasm. We'll see. So go get a snack, get a drink, and come on back.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, with your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, in the first segment of our lovely session, we discussed, some basic tips, for giving a good hand job. We're going to continue in that fashion in this segment. And we're going to intensify it a bit with those hand jobs. We want him to have that explosive orgasm. So, let's go. Now, we all know you can go into a Cosmopolitan, whatever you want to call it. In these magazines today, they're always doing some sort of sex quiz. You can go online now and do them. And they are fun. So do them. Have fun with your partner. See what happens. Bring it in there. It's a form of titillating conversational foreplay. So he'll probably give you some tippers. Now, a hand job is a very valuable weapon to a man. And if you can give a good one, you're on his best side. I mean, this is something, like I said before, is something that they do themselves, and to see their partner do it for them is new to them, and it attracts them even more, and it's a total turn on to them. So look at it that way. You're pleasing your partner. You want your partner to please you as well. So make your partner feel good. There are different techniques different ways, just in simple terms, different ways to give a hand job. There's no, there are powerful sex tricks. A little tongue-tied today. Where you see your partner in that back arching, oh my God, toe curling, screaming orgasm and get them to that point. And your partner wants to see it from you, and you want to see that you're giving your partner that same feeling. So when we talk about these techniques for a good hand job, we really got to look at everything, because this is like, something he's done himself for the longest time, and when we're not around. So, and we're hoping he's thinking about his partner. So the first one on our list, as usual, our hands are our weapons. They're our tools. Very, 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 very important to take care of our hands, because very dangerous if we don't. We could hurt our partner. A few tips for that is, if you have calluses, use a pumice stone on the tough calluses, which is really good. You can go in any store nowadays and get them. CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, beauty supply place. They are everywhere. You can go into Choblat now. So that's a good thing. Always, another tip, always keep your hands moisturized so they remain soft after you use that pumice, or get those calluses removed. Make your nails less sharp, free from sharp edges. You don't want to scratch them, because that is a very sensitive area of the male body. It's their pride and joy, and they talk highly of it. And always, especially with everything that is going on right now in our world, keep them clean, because it is a sensitive part of their body, and it's also subjected to infection and everything else. So we don't want to endanger them with that. Next, it's the buildup or no buildup. As women, we generally go a little slower and build up towards sex, because we like that. That sexual tension is great for us. We are turned on by it. We like to be teased. But when it comes to a man, we are talking a man, and it is his part that we are satisfying. Although they do enjoy the build-up, they would like you to get in there and, go to town on them, and because this is what they want. It's a total turn on. Their brains are sexually triggered. So when we're building up for them, have him stand in front of you and slowly unzip his pants and pull it, down his pants to expose his member. Or if he's sitting down, just go right up to him while he's watching TV. Unzip his pants. Don't even have him take it out. Just slip your fingers in there and into his underwear, and just kind of his boxer shorts, or, his tighty whities, and play around in there. Total turn on. He won't be able to, keep concentration on that TV game. Another one. Have you ever really, have you asked yourself, have you been complimented on your blowjobs that you give? You need to see, because if you're not doing it correctly and he's not saying anything to you, how do you know you're doing it right? Or how you know you can get him into an orgasm. I don't think that's a hard feat at times. However, you like to know that you are actually, what you're doing is right, or if it's, good, more than the fact that you are turning him on right then and there, and that's what he wants. but you want to know that you're giving a good. Get some tips, some pointers from your partner. They are also eager to give. We go on. Ooh, another tip, the pre-cum play. Now, men, we know as you're getting them hot, the pre-cum comes out. We have our own lubrication that we're putting on our hands so that we don't cause any friction for them or any undue pain while we're giving a hand job as women. But use that pre-cum that comes out in conjunction with your lubrication. It's added lubrication. It is something that is total turn on for them. Play around with it. It's the perfect lube. And, you're going up there, you're mixing it into, you're using his own body fluids in the hand job, which is a total turn on for them because this is part of them. This is what occurs in foreplay and before sex when he's really hot. So it's really, really good. So then you have, now it's when you wrap your hand around his member, it's called, have a gentle claw. They call it the claw. Just put your hand around him but be gentle in certain respects. Give that light touch because it's almost like when they are teasing us or playing doing foreplay with us, and they want to see us get to that point. It's the same thing for them. So go in there with different hand techniques. Slowly do it. Be gentle. Use your fingertips. That's what they're there for. Use all of your hand on your partner. Now, the standard way we always do this is just the up and down. We're gonna want to try something different because that's basically what they do. I mean, we have, here are some antiques. You can tell I'm really having the day today. There is an easy way to enhance the up and down motion technique for more pleasure. And with that note, and to leave you hanging, we're going to stop here, take a break. And when we come back, I'm going to give you those tips. So go refill our snack bowls, get a refilled drink, and come back. Get relaxed.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, with your host, Andra. where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, we are at our final portion of our session. So we're going to continue with our techniques for giving an intense hand job. And we're going to, bounce all over the place because they do give a lot and there is a lot there. So you can look these up, but the best thing to do is ask your partner because they know they want to be touched. And also take care in your hands because they are delicate there. Although they do consider it their manly man, he is still delicate, people. Now, when we left off, I was going to give you some techniques to enhance your hand job for more pleasure. We were on that one. Let's go. Number one, start grabbing his penis and wrapping your hands around the shaft. Now, your pinky should be the closest to his balls, while your index finger should be the closest to the top of his penis. So, got a good space there we can put our hands. Slowly stroke him up and down with your hand as what you normally do in the beginning of a hand job, just to get him started. Now, step 3 is really important. While you are stroking him up and down, rub your thumb in back of the head of his penis. So you're taking your thumb and you're rubbing it over the back of the head of the penis while you're going up and down. So he's getting double that pleasure. As you're going up and down, take your thumb, because we got to do something with that thumb, which is on the other side. We got the other fingers working and the hand working. That thumb's very important, got a very important position. Rub it up and down around the top of his penis. Obviously, as always, we don't want to give friction, with straight hand to hand. He's got some coming out. Use that, but very important, use some lubrication. And it makes it a lot more enjoyable as well. There is actually the next technique, which is the double-handed backhand. This is how we do this. Now, this particular technique, all techniques in this respect, when we're giving hand jobs, feel wonderful for the man. But you want to switch it up a little bit and trying new things. It gets a little tricky, but as with this. Now, when you're using 2 hands, one of those hands is focused on the shaft and jerking it up and down. Now, we did discuss this one in the beginning, but we're going to go in a little bit more detail. Now, with your other hand, you're going to focus more on the head of his penis. Okay? And we need to stimulate that head. So we're keeping one hand occupied with the shaft. The other one's going to be with the head of the penis. Now, these is how the rules of thumb. Keeping your hands your fingers loose. Run the tips of them over the head and then back again. You got 4 fingers and a thumb and a whole new hand over here, free doing nothing. Use the tip of one finger to make small circles around the tip of his penis. Now, right now, you've got him in all different tizzies because you're going up and down at the one part with one hand and the other hand's messing around with the head of his penis. So it's really turning him on. Now, you can switch in between because you can replace the hand that is stimulating the top or the head of his penis with your tongue. So now you've brought your mouth into it, the warmth of your mouth, even though your hands are probably warm. There is a little bit of a roughness to our tongue, so it's a stimulator for them. And they're enjoying this. So, you might just go in a little further and give like a partial blowjob just on the top of his head, of his penis. And that will drive him absolutely bonkers because he wants more of that. He wants you to continue with that, and you don't have to. That could be for a later date, or that could be done in an hour when you're back at it again. So don't be forced where that you would have to do that. Keep up this hand job because it is driving him crazy. Next technique, they call it the escalator. And they do this because your hands are never stopping the movement. And it's, how an escalator continually goes around and around with the stairs so that people are constantly in motion. Your hand is constantly in motion and it doesn't, stop. And when you get two hands in there, change up the rhythm of your hand movements from, just going up and down to putting like small stops in there. Because remember, you're still playing with the head of his penis, which is driving him crazy as well. And his pre-cum is coming, whereas you're using that as a lubricant, and then the warmthness of your mouth. So it's, this is, we're pleasuring the partner here. And this is what the focus is. So, keep it going, but mix it up a little bit. He's not going to say no to that, unless of course you're hurting him. He will stop you. As always, fondle the balls because they're too. They're going to get a little jealous. They actually give a pro tip on this. You could try this technique when he's in the shower. You use the soap because the soap is slippery, or shampoo, and put it on the balls and just play around with them in there. And, light fondling, slightly pulling, going down on them and just messing with those, blowing on them, mash it up. Because that's what all this is about. Mash it right up. Now, this one's it's really funny because I am probably going to butcher the way they explain it, but this is how I see it. Anilingus hand job, which sounds pretty interesting. Never heard of this one before, so we're kind of learning this one together. Now, it's more of like if you're just figuring out what the hand job and how to give one to your man for the first time, they'll tell you to skip this. Okay? Because it is what I thought it was. It has to do with his butt, his anus. So basically, going from the balls, going into the space, and then messing around with his anus. He does it to yours. He plays around with your butt. He plays around with your, some people that is a complete turn on for. So don't not take advantage of any part of his body because we allow him to do it for us. Let's give it back. There are so many ways you can do this for a man with a hand job and get them so sexually and ready just to blow. Because their focus and their brain set when it comes to sex, obviously is sex, but that third head, or that, that little third leg, shall I say, not third leg, head, third leg, that little man they call that member, they call that thing they pride themselves on, is what they want you to focus on. They want their partner to focus on that. Because if you can please that, you're pleasing him. So remember that when you're giving a hand job. There are tons and tons of techniques out there. There are all kinds of different ways to do things. You have two hands. Use them. That's what they're there for. Because the most sensitive area of his penis is the head. And you want to incorporate that. So use what techniques you have. If he wants to introduce a toy into the mix, do it. It's his pleasure that you're doing it for. And take his feedback because you want to please him. So that is the end of this show for today, or for now. But we will be back with more sex tips and points of view from me. So, as always, practice safe sex. Please practice safe sex. If not for your partner, for yourself.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.